Did you feel initially when Beyonce started dating Jay-Z, who is very successful, but he's also, generally considered a gangster rapper?
The shockwaves started in Maryland, and they have been rippling ever since. Out of the blue, Leticia Meser, 28, composed but clearly carrying decades of silence, went public with what she calls the truth that will not stay buried. She didn't break it to a tabloid, she didn't sell it to a talk show. She hit record on her phone, opened Instagram, and posted a video alongside the caption that has now been screenshotted into 1,000 group chats. "I've been quiet for far too long." On her feed, side-by-side photos of her and Jay-Z sit like an unspoken dare. Same jawline, same eyes, and in her voice a steady insistence that her mother told her the same story for as long as she can remember, that her father is Sean Carter.
No, this part is not alleged. Jay-Z and his team, they have been ducking and dodging taking the DNA test.
Those who live in and around Cambridge, Maryland say the whispers have been there for years. Leticia's family never hid the name in their own living rooms, but beyond the walls, it became a game of nods and raised eyebrows. Former neighbors claim they've seen Jay-Z in the area more than once, always discreet, always moving fast. A few older locals recall the apartment on Greenwood Avenue where, according to one sister's post, the introductions between her mother and Jay-Z were made. They tell it like a scene from a different life: card games, laughter, late nights, and then a sudden vanishing act when word of a pregnancy made its way back to New York. The claims would be easy to dismiss as another internet reach, if not for the receipts Leticia says she holds. In private conversations, she reportedly mentions DNA paperwork, not some blurry screenshot, but an actual lab-certified report. She hasn't dropped it in full yet. Timing, some say, is everything, but the implication alone has been enough to send the rumor mill into overdrive, especially because she's not the first to stand in this spotlight. We've seen the same stubborn pattern before, most famously with Rymir Satterthwaite, who's been trying for more than a decade to get a court to force Jay-Z to take that one simple test.
I don't have no felonies, I'm not crazy or none of that. It's like, I just want the truth, and it's so hard to get it from the courts. And it seems like Jay-Z don't want to say anything, so I don't want to see him go down for something that you could have just got taken care of. That's it.
But this time, the name at the center of the storm is Leticia's, and the stakes may be different. Why? Because of the way she has framed her story, not as a plea for money, not as a tabloid stunt, but as a demand for acknowledgement. In her own telling, she has juggled caregiving for a bedridden mother, raising 4 children, including twins, and working multiple jobs. The image is clear. She's not chasing a payday, she's confronting a legacy. And then comes the other layer, the one that makes even seasoned entertainment insiders lean in. The idea that Beyoncé herself has been quietly intercepting situations like this before they ever make it to public view. Industry chatter calls it the secret NDA squad, a small, loyal group of legal and crisis operatives tasked with neutralizing any threat to the Carter family image before it snowballs. Former associates say this squad moves quickly, armed with airtight confidentiality contracts, generous settlements, and a reach that extends from courtrooms to gossip blogs. It's not hard to believe, given the Carters' track record of keeping scandals contained. The question is whether this is about protecting the children they're raising, or protecting the man Beyoncé has built an empire with.
How do you know I'm not a gangster, or used to be a gangster? I've been in the music industry for 30 years.
Yeah, the industry is filled with gangsters.
Folded into all this is a darker, quieter rumor, the so-called Illegitimate Heirs Trust Fund. According to 3 separate people who have worked in financial services for high-profile clients, Jay-Z is said to have set up a discreet channel for periodic payouts to a handful of people making paternity claims. These aren't publicized, aren't fought over in court. They're private agreements, structured so recipients keep quiet and stay clear of cameras. The suggestion that these arrangements exist and that the number of beneficiaries might already be in the double digits turns Leticia's revelation from a family drama into something much bigger. And that's where the speculation really sharpens. If Leticia truly is one of these silenced heirs, then breaking cover the way she has could be more than just personal courage. It could be the first crack in a wall built over decades. There are whispers that she's already been contacted by others with eerily similar stories. A brief romance in the 90s, a pregnancy, a life lived in partial shadow. Some of them, according to people in their circles, have been receiving hush deposits for years. Others claim they were threatened with legal action if they ever went public.
Weirdo. I don't get no what you got in your head, that neural link. You'll never outthink me. Ever.
The timing makes it all the more volatile. Jay-Z is already juggling the Rymir case in federal court, with filings accusing him of dodging the truth through years of legal maneuvers. And in the background, the far more explosive headlines tying his name to the ongoing Diddy scandal are sucking up oxygen. It's the kind of convergence of pressures that can force mistakes or force confessions. If Leticia's evidence is as solid as she suggests, she could end up leveraging this moment into the public acknowledgement that others have failed to get. But there's another scenario that's even more sensational, that her stand could inspire a wave of people who've kept their stories hidden to finally come forward. Imagine the optics if 2, 3, 5 new claimants appear in the same news cycle, each with their own photo comparisons, each with a story about how they met him, and each hinting at financial arrangements meant to keep them off the record. At that point, the rumor of dozens of secret children stops being a punchline and starts looking like a pattern. Which leaves us with a question no one in the Carter inner circle seems eager to answer. How many more Leticias are out there? And how long can they all be kept quiet?
I felt like, they had a whole lot of potential. Jay was more quiet. But I mean, I learned that Jay was being quiet because he was taking notes. He was taking notes, observing everything, taking it all in, because, sometimes you're around and you're watching to see things to do.
Over the years, we've watched these allegations against Jay-Z stack up like dominoes, each one threatening to tip the next. Ramir Satterthwaite's name has been in this conversation longer than most of us can remember. His first legal push dates back to the early 2010s, and since then he's fought through jurisdictional dismissals, procedural stalls, and what his camp calls deliberate misdirection from the other side. His filings painted as a simple request, a paternity test, met with a wall of counterclaims, motions, and technicality. Jay-Z's attorneys call it harassment. Ramir calls it truth-seeking. It's the kind of prolonged legal battle that turns into a marathon of attrition, where one side has deep pockets and the other is running on conviction alone. The more we look at it, the more it resembles a modern David and Goliath fight, with the imbalance in resources so stark that even small wins for Ramir feel monumental. When we place Leticia's sudden emergence alongside Ramir's decade-long struggle, a bigger picture starts to emerge. If both stories are real, they are not isolated anomalies. They begin to look like points on a map of claims, settlements, and silences that stretches across states and decades. Insiders whisper about a system, carefully maintained, where potential scandals are absorbed and neutralized before they can leave the orbit of private negotiations. Payoffs become footnotes, legal threats become routine, and anyone who tries to push harder finds themselves tangled in paperwork until the clock runs out. Whether this is a calculated defense strategy or a reflex born of protecting an image, the result is the same. Voices vanish before they can echo.
I would hope he would think about it and this would be in his mind, but I wouldn't actually know what another person is feeling.
It's easy to talk about the machinery of suppression in abstract terms, but when we focus on the people at the center of these claims, the weight of it shifts. Imagine growing up convinced you share blood with one of the most famous men on the planet, and yet every public moment of his fatherhood is directed towards someone else's table. You watch from the sidelines as birthday parties are splashed across magazines, as award shows turn into family photo ops, as interviews mention 3 children by name, never you. There's no phone call, no letter, not even a private acknowledgement. For those on the outside, the gap between belief and recognition is more than a technicality. It becomes the defining absence in a life. For Ramir, the absence has been filled with courtroom visits, affidavits, and the long grind of trying to force an answer through official channels. For Leticia, it's been about survival in silence, caring for a mother whose health collapsed under the strain of illness, keeping a household afloat while raising her own 4 children, and living in a town where the whispers never stopped. Both paths share the same underlying wound, the quiet ache of being, in their eyes, erased. And when that erasure is allegedly maintained by someone with the reach and influence of Jay-Z, it's no longer just a family dispute, it's a cultural story about who gets to be seen and who is kept in shadow.
Jay-Z new video with Nas and DJ Khaled is a scene where it's checkerboards. These are all occult Satanists.
The psychological toll of that kind of invisibility is something most of us will never fully grasp. For some, it becomes a driving force, a reason to fight, to speak out, to demand recognition, even at personal cost. For others, it's a slow erosion of self-worth, a constant reminder that even if the world praises your father's philanthropy, his support for social causes, his role as a community figure, he has chosen not to extend that same acknowledgement to you. That contradiction is what makes these stories so potent and so volatile when they hit the public sphere. And there's another element we can't ignore, the ripple effect. Every time a new claimant appears, it emboldens others who have been silent. Industry watchers are already speculating about whether Leticia's move will be the catalyst for a wave of fresh allegations. Lawyers who've handled high-profile paternity cases in the past point out that once one person breaks through the initial fear barrier, the dynamics shift. Those non-disclosure agreements become harder to enforce under public scrutiny, and the fear of being the first to speak disappears. If that happens here, the quiet, controlled narrative around Jay-Z's personal life could fracture in ways we haven't seen before.
But after that major documentary comes out on Diddy, then you're going to start to hear more and more about Jay-Z and his nefarious past, okay?
In today's climate, the internet is no longer just a spectator, it's a megaphone. Platforms like Instagram, TikTok, and X give people the ability to broadcast allegations directly to millions without waiting for a newsroom or talk show to grant them airtime. Leticia's story is a textbook example. A few uploads on her feed, paired with carefully chosen captions, turned a private family claim into a global conversation in less than 48 hours. The speed is startling. One post is picked up by a blog, reshared by an influencer, clipped into a reaction video, and suddenly, a claim that might once have languished in legal limbo is trending worldwide. Amir's campaign has followed a different path, but with the same effect. Over the years, he's used social media to keep his narrative alive despite courtroom setbacks, maintaining a steady drip of photos, case updates, and archival documents. This kind of persistence keeps the allegations in circulation. And in the algorithm-driven attention economy, relevance is power. A single resurfaced video or an anniversary post can spark a new wave of commentary, drawing fresh eyes to a case many thought had gone cold. Social media's memory may be short for some topics, but when it comes to celebrity scandals, it's more like a vault that can be unlocked at any time.
This morning, rap mogul Jay-Z is denying allegations he sexually assaulted a 13-year-old girl alongside rapper Sean Diddy Combs. That civil lawsuit filed against Combs in October was amended Sunday to include Jay-Z. The accuser, identified only as Jane Doe, says she was assaulted by both men.
The reach of these platforms also erodes the control once held by traditional gatekeepers. In the past, high-profile figures could rely on their publicists and media allies to shape coverage or bury a damaging lead. Now, a viral post bypasses that entire network. Fans, critics, and armchair detectives dig up old photos, compare timelines, and circulate unflattering parallels. Each repost or stitch becomes its own piece of evidence in the court of public opinion, and there is no single editor deciding what gets published. For someone like Jay-Z, this means the conversation can swell far beyond the reach of any crisis management plan. There's also the way social media builds communities around these narratives. Supporters of Leticia and Rymir exchange information in comment threads, share resources for legal aid, and amplify each other's content to ensure it breaks out of niche circles. That connectivity transforms isolated voices into a chorus, one that's harder to dismiss as fringe or fabricated. It's a network effect that works in both directions. For those making the claims, it offers validation and visibility. For those facing the allegations, it creates an ever-expanding audience they can't directly control.
Down with the lovely Aaliyah. What's going on, Aaliyah?
What's up? How you doing? I'm good. It's been a while. Sure has been a while.
And the visual nature of these platforms adds another layer of potency. Side-by-side photo comparisons, candid snapshots from the past, even short clips of mannerisms. These can be far more persuasive to an audience than any written affidavit. The emotional punch of seeing a resemblance or catching a familiar expression in motion fuels engagement and speculation in a way legal documents rarely can. This is a new terrain of scandal, a place where a single viral image can do more to sway public perception than months of careful litigation, and where silence from the accused can be interpreted as loudly as any statement. This possibility raises an uncomfortable question. How many lives have already been shaped by this kind of silence? If the rumors of multiple quiet settlements are true, then each one represents a separate reality, a person, a family, a history that has been deliberately kept out of the public story. The idea that there could be dozens of such cases may sound exaggerated, but in the absence of transparency, speculation fills the void. And when speculation is fed by patterns we can already trace, it stops feeling far-fetched.
After they are done with Diddy, Jay-Z is up next to be exposed, right?
The public response so far has been split. Some view these claims with skepticism, framing them as opportunism aimed at a billionaire's fortune. Others see a deeper injustice, one that cuts against the very image Jay-Z has cultivated as a champion of truth and responsibility. It's that clash between the brand and the alleged behavior that keeps the story alive. Every court filing, every social media post from Leticia or Rymir becomes another crack in the carefully constructed image. What's certain is that this situation is not closing quietly. Federal court schedules are moving forward, media interest is intensifying, and Leticia's presence in the narrative has introduced an unpredictability that no amount of legal preparation can fully control. If she releases the DNA evidence she claims to have, the reaction will be immediate and impossible to contain. And if others step forward in her wake, we could be looking at a chain reaction that forces one of the most powerful figures in entertainment into a position he has successfully avoided for years, giving a direct, public answer.
Jay-Z got his ass whooped by his sister-in-law on camera. What's her name? Solange. You got his ass. The feds ain't step in and do nothing. The feds don't care about you getting your ass whooped.
So here we are, standing on the edge of a story that could either fade into another forgotten rumor or explode into one of the most consequential celebrity scandals in recent memory. If these alleged secret children are real, the silence has already altered the course of their lives. The question now is whether that silence will hold, or whether the next name to step into the light will bring the whole house of cards tumbling down. What do you think? Is this just smoke, or are we about to see the fire? Thanks for watching, and until next time, stay sharp, stay curious, and don't look away.